you're welcome to my YouTube channel. And on this channel, we explore agriculture for job creation and food security. My name is Nana Ismamba Sam, and for today's episode, we are at T&K Farms, where we are going to explore one of Ghana's most lucrative industry, and this is no other than pig farming. Do stay with us as we explore this venture, the profitability, value addition, and some of the risks associated with this industry. Do stay with us, you wouldn't want to miss.
So my name is Carla Forjolai, and I'm a pig farmer. I'm a teacher by profession and also a manager. So I've been teaching for the better part of 12 years now, and I started pig farming about 5 years ago when I got married. It's not profitable initially, and it's a lot of hard work. I think if you don't have the patience and a love for animals, it's not something you should do. You really have to care about the well being of the animal and be able to make certain sacrifices to get things going smoothly. You also need a lot of knowledge because you are dealing with life. Once it's lost, it's lost. There's no bringing back a dead animal. So you have to be really aware of the conditions that suit the animal and that will protect the life of the animal. For me, doing farming, again, it's not always that you have help. If for some reason someone falls ill, you yourself have to be able to feed the animals and clean them and give them the necessary medications. So you have to be very involved. So it's not as easy as I have the money to start a farm, so I'm going to start a farm. You quickly find out that you don't have the patience or the time, or you're not willing to do the work, and then you would want to cash out, then you would lose. So you really have to have the money, the time, the patience, the knowledge before you venture into it. So I started with a large white. That was the pig from my brother-in-law's farm. And then I got landrace, large white, and Duroc mix from the farmer who was going out of business. And they are all very large breeds. They are all very popular. Recently, I've also bought a large black Duroc mix to mix with my large whites and my landrace. In Ghana, I think the large white landrace is more predominant. They grow well, they are suited to this climate. So a lot of farmers choose that breed. If you go to Legon, that's most likely the breed they'll sell to you to start your farm with. So those are the breeds I have in stock. I'm thinking of getting a Hampshire. Um, I saw one just the other day, but the farmer promised me when he crosses them, he'll get me one. So the cost is wholly dependent on the size of the farm you wish to maintain. If I had stuck with my 4 pigs, it wouldn't be anything near what I have to spend today. But I had a vision of maintaining a breeding stock of about 20. And even now, I've decided to scale down to 15 just because of the costs involved. As I get more investment, probably I might up that number. I know farmers who have breeding stock of 100,000, right? So they are the big names in the industry. They have huge farms, but that's not what I'm doing. In terms of the structure, you can have a labor intensive model or you can have a capital intensive model. What I have chosen is a more capital intensive model. As you can see, we've automated all the drinking and we've done emo as well. So mainly the labor is to deliver feed. So if I had a problem with labor, all I have to do is feed the animals, which is not the most difficult thing to do if you've pre-mixed your feeds. However, some people choose to do a more traditional version where they just have the pens, they put in water, they put in the feed, and so they have to do more labor in that sense because you have to manage the water. And with pigs, water is always tricky because they'll spill the water and make themselves a bath. So you always have to replenish the water. Um, I prefer my model. Obviously, that's why I'm doing it. Simply because it's you don't have to, the animals are getting the adequate supply of water that they need, and water is very important for the growth of the animal. Also, with the emo, you reduce the smells in the pen because if not, you have to scrub every day. You are constantly removing feces and scrubbing, and it's a lot of work. But with the emo, you literally are spraying a breakdown chemical that gets rid of the scent, and that also converts some of the sawdust into feed for the animals. So it takes away all that labor as well. That's why I chose it. So the biggest cost with rearing is always the feed. It's always the feed. So that's a variable cost. It goes up depending on what age the animal is. Is the animal pregnant? Has the animal delivered? The feed changes every time the answer changes. So if you are starting with two sows and a male, how old are they? If you are buying them ready to cross, then they are going to be maybe a year old, a little over a year old if you want them to be successful from the onset. And if you're going to buy a pig that big, you are looking at spending three of them about 7,500 cedis right now just to get those three pigs. Where are you going to house them? Are you going to build a block structure around them, or you're going to just knock together some bamboo? Because you can just put them in a bamboo pen and they should be okay. Bamboo is strong enough. You just have to keep changing it every 3 months or so whenever you have some weakness in the structure. So you could definitely scale down the cost of the housing. Again, if you have the time and the energy, you are not going to do automated feeders. You're not going to buy a poly tank. You are just going to put 2 gallons, yellow gallons there, one for water, one for feed. That's no more than 10 cedis. So if you have your 7,500, you have some bamboo, a nice shaded land that you can put them. You can easily start off quite well with 10,000 cedis.
Okay.
But when your pigs give birth, then you will start to know the meaning of feeding piglets because the feed for piglets is very expensive. Agro feed, which I just came into the country, is about 499 a bag for the pre-starter, which is the very young piglets. And this if you want to grow them well. A lot of people are growing pigs badly. It's just a fact. Even myself, for the first 2, 3 years, I was growing pigs badly. I wasn't, not that I had a good feed mix from Sankofa. They gave me a recipe. And so I was using that. So the pigs were eating well. But the nutrition for the adults is different from the nutrition for the piglets. And if you try and play the cost down, giving them more of something else because it's easier on the pocket, they don't grow as fast as they're supposed to. And that's why the knowledge is very important because it wasn't until maybe a year and a half ago where an expert came and said, your pigs are too small. And I said, why are my pigs too small? I'm giving them a very good feed mix. But then he showed me a growth chart for the animals. And what it was taking me 10 months to do, he could do in 4 months. And it's like, wow, where am I going wrong? You know, what do I need to do differently? I have to cut back on the fiber. I have to add more protein, you know. So the knowledge is important so that you don't lose. Because if it takes you 10 months to grow a pig that you could have sold at 4 months, you
That's a lot.
wasted 4 months of your life, you
Yeah.
know. And to do that, you have to be willing to put in the money. If you put in the money, you get the result. That's something which, for me, always trying to reason out, balance out, see how best you can bring down the cost. It reaches a point where you're like, okay, you have to put in the money if you want to see the result. If you try and sidestep it, it's going to go wrong. It's like a plant. It needs water and sunlight. If you put shade over a plant that doesn't need shade and it's not growing, it's because you put shade over it. You just have to do the right thing if you want the right result. There are a lot of supplements I'm now adding to my feed mixes. And again, this has been more of a growth process. So something very recent I started was toxin binders because I didn't know much about toxin binders. I recently I've learned about them. So for somebody like pigs who eat rice bran and other products that might have chemicals, they are waste products, so they were sprayed with chemicals. Humans, we don't have that risk because obviously ours has been processed. They take out as much of the chemicals as they can. But with the animals, you don't know what chemicals are in the sacks you are going to give them. So something like toxin binder. Then you have, of course, concentrates, which are growth boosters prepared by various companies. Like I said, I started off with Sankofa. So I've always been using Sankofa concentrates with my feed. But it's for beds. And recently, people are bringing in pig concentrates into the country. So I've now switched to pig concentrates because they are pigs. um, then you have amino acids, lysine. There are lots of chemicals that go into it. So we add that to the water, which we mix with the feed. There are traditional feed methods which are out there. And as the price of commercial feed was going up, um, an alternative was proposed to us that we were told was being used in the villages, which is fermentation of crops and giving it to the animals. And then, of course, there are a lot of trees which are edible as well, which just grow by the side of the road. So we started cutting down those particular trees and then we ferment them. Things like also palm kernel waste, corn cobs, things that generally the animal will not eat or get too many nutrients from. If you ferment them, they become more nutritious, and then we add that to sort of beef up the amount of feed the animals are receiving. The piglets need iron. They need iron boosters as well. I used to just give one shot of iron, but from learning from others, I realized you can give it up to 4 times the iron boosters for the piglets. There are some very deadly diseases that knock out pig populations. So that's why it's very important to control access to the farm. You'll see the way our farm is set up, you really can't access the piglets. We tend to have the stock that's for sale outside so that anyone coming will just stay outside and as far away from the piglets as possible. Because those are things that are brought in, right? So generally, we won't let anyone go into that area. If they were to come into that area, we would have to disinfect their shoes. So those are the practices we put in place to try and minimize the occurrence of anyone bringing in diseases onto the farm. And as you say, it's the piglets who are susceptible to that. But generally, swine flu would knock out the bigger pigs as well. So you can lose your whole farm. Um, there's not much you can do to protect against it other than preventing it from entering your farm through some of these practices. So I always tell TT that you stop at the abattoir. You don't go in. You can open the door maybe, but generally nobody should enter into that area. Life, you can't control everything, you do the best you can. Some of the sanitation measures that need to be taken into consideration is cleaning out the waste or using emo, which would then reduce the workload of cleaning out the waste. It also gets rid of the odors. Otherwise, you'll be met by a foul smell every time you venture into the farm. And it can be very problematic if you have neighbors.
Yeah.
In terms of temperature, climate control, pigs are very hardy. They are very hardy in the sense that, um, unlike birds, where if you don't get the heating right, they are going to die. Pigs are not as sensitive, but still, the piglets need heat. So you see, they'll huddle up together on cold days, especially during the raining season. When it's hot, they are perfectly okay. We are lucky to live in Ghana where it doesn't get cold, or at least doesn't get cold to a degree that you risk the animal passing away. We are in a temperate climate. So the animals do get too hot, which is why they make themselves those baths. So in our cages, we have little gutters there that sometimes they'll fill with water and do their own swimming pool. We've done it that way so that they can keep cool as much as possible. Other farmers have sprayers, especially the ones who have the concrete floors, where they have water being sprayed on the animal. One farmer advised me to get them. I'm still considering it because I was a bit worried about how wet the sawdust will get, but apparently that's not an issue to be concerned with. So definitely keeping the animal comfortable is better. It makes for a happier pig if you're concerned about the happiness of the pig. Yeah. What I see in America and in Europe is 4 months they have 100 kg pigs, and within 6 months they have 150 kg pig. I've not been able to replicate that. I'm working very hard to try and replicate that by giving them the right proportion of nutrients and feed. Honestly, I don't know a farmer who is doing that. I know a lot of farmers, but I've not seen anybody get those figures. So I know it's happening in Europe and in America, and maybe they have a different breed, but still, we are all dealing with the top 10 best breeds. We have to work harder to get those numbers. Pig farmers are not worried about the market. There is no surplus of pigs in Ghana. There tends to be a shortage, especially in December, where a lot of people are asking and are turning people down because you can't even meet the demand. So you are turning to other farmers. They are also like, I don't have any pigs to kill. So right now we are not in a position where we have a shortage, a surplus of supply of pigs. So the market is not the problem right now. There are a lot of people who are doing, like I said, they have thousands of pigs. They are, I call them the serious people because they've really invested heavily into it. So they are probably the ones supplying ShopRite on a daily. You can only imagine how many pigs you need to slaughter to fill all the ShopRites or the Melcoms every day. So I wouldn't say the market is the problem, but you can lose terribly if you don't grow your animals right. A lot of people are exiting the market, and I would know because people would be like, I'm folding up. I met a gentleman, the one who I got the large black Duroc from. and he was selling his farm. It was a beautiful, you saw the pictures, it was a beautiful farm. He had set up to do pig farming and he had invested heavily in it. It's like, why are you suddenly just closing up? And it's sort of like, if I'm feeding them this really expensive feed on the market and I don't know alternatives that I can turn to grow my pigs at the right rate, I'm not going to make any money. I have a friend who's selling about 30 pigs right now and selling it at the agreed pig farmer's rate. He says he's losing. He's not making his money back, but he just wants to sell the pigs because they are too cost intensive. And it's like, okay, I get that. If you feed them more than you can sell them for, the fact that you were able to sell them doesn't help you. You've still lost. And you won't be encouraged to continue unless you can figure out how to bring down the cost so that you are profitable. And that is the struggle, because you have to get the pigs big enough, early enough to make a profit. And if you are not doing that, you'll be frustrated. So for us, we really looked at how to um, access a bigger market. So we really thought about catering, we thought about sausages, we thought about burgers, mincemeat, so that we can access more clientele. So it's a lot more work because it's a whole, you're moving from primary to now secondary production. And that's what we are doing. We are cutting up some of the meat, we are packaging it, selling it as domedo cuts. We are doing sausages, selling those, and the burgers, the minced beef as well. But we still also sell the full animal. But we also do catering, so we can do a whole roast for you. We can do grilled pork. We can do pulled pork. Those are the party packages that we offer to people who are having functions. So sometimes you even come and fry yam. It's definitely more profitable to process it. It's the most profitable to do the catering. If you are able to cater for a party, that's the most profitable. It's odd to say we recycle everything in the sense that every part of the animal has value. So pig feet, the head, those tend to be the parts that are least purchased if someone is buying just a cut of the meat. But you can still sell it separately for its value.
Yeah.
In terms of manure, we compost. So we compost and we use it for planting. So you can just compost it for about a month or two, and then it's very good if you mix it with some black soil. You can grow crops very well with the compost. Otherwise, the animals don't leave a lot of feed waste. So we just have the emo is a whole recycling process. It's supposed to recycle any feed that gets into the soil. They're supposed to recycle even the feces of the animal. So we've tried to implement systems that allow the place to function with minimal waste. With the innards of the animal, people eat it. you know, the intestines we use for the sausages, that's the casing of sausages, the intestine. So we always preserve those to do sausages. But the other parts, generally the customers will take them. There are many WhatsApp groups representing associations which I've joined. Um, and they are great because it's a marketplace. A lot of people are selling stuff. That's why they are there. So it's a very great contact because somebody would come and say, "Oh, I've got this product for this price," and it's like, "Whoa, I've not seen this price for this product. Where are you? I'll come and buy." And you go and buy from the person. You know, So it makes it allows you to buy things at a more affordable cost. It allows you to know who is where. You can meet a lot of farmers that way. If you need to buy, if I needed to buy a pig right now, I would just put it
Wow.
on the group, and any farmer who had that breed or that age would then also be like, look, I'm here. Are you interested? So, how relevant are they? I think they are very, very important. I don't know if anybody has gone to rank them. I highly doubt they've ranked the groups. But what's important is that being there is a knowledge base, and it gives you connections and allows you to do a lot more.